So it turns out you can run an AC unit off your solar. This is a game changer for van life in hot places. Now, I am currently in Spain. It is August. It is genuinely hot. It's a hot day. It's warm in the van. I've got the doors open. There's some airflow, but the reality is by the evening, this van is going to be warm. It's even worse if you're off hiking, you go swimming, you're surfing, the van's closed up, and then when you come back to the van in the evening, you might want to cook some food, which makes your van even hotter, and you end up in a van which is just super, super hot. So there is always this problem of how do you keep your van cool when you're in a hot place. I'm going to run through the main solutions for how to keep your van cool and what exists now, and then we are going to experiment with and test this thing, which is an air conditioning unit, which is more or less designed to cool down a space similar to the size of a van. This content is sponsored by Outdoorsy. Through Outdoorsy, you can rent your camper van out to make extra cash, and you can rent a van to try van life before you commit. First, I'm going to run through the main ways that people currently use to cool their van without using mains hookup or mains power. We're talking off-grid systems. So one way is airflow. You can have one fan in one part of the van, one fan at the other van. They both have power motors. One blows in, one blows out. This actually works reasonably well as long as your van isn't super hot and the outside temperature isn't too bad. When you're in somewhere where the temperature really drops at night, this can be a good way to cool your van. Here's a couple of examples with people who've installed this system really well.
So I have a Max fan in the kitchen, which is amazing. I really recommend it. I don't really use it as much when I'm cooking because I normally cook with the doors open. But in summer in Spain, if you have that on with my sky window open, the flow is amazing. I mean, you can feel the cold air coming in. So I would really recommend it.
Another good way is because the part where you really want to be cooler is where you sleep. What you can do is beside your bed, you can put some vented windows and you can have a fan that is extracting somewhere else in the van. So what it's doing, it's drawing that cool air in over your bodies and then pushing that out. That also works quite well, and it only needs one big fan in the roof, but you do need a couple of small windows in the side which have vents, and they tend to cost a bit of money as well.
And you can see that we have 2 bunk windows in the back. Those are crucial for during the summer because like we mentioned earlier with our fan, you can exhaust air out. With those windows cracked at night, we've slept in 80-degree weather. It's actually cool because that breeze is so powerful from the fan pulling air through.
Another thing you see a lot of are swamp coolers or mist coolers or coolers which rely on a block of ice. And to be honest, I've tried the ice cooler, I've tried the mist, but the problem is A, they just introduce loads of moisture to your van, and B, they're just not very good. And also, if you're off grid, where you're just going to get a load of ice from, it doesn't work very well. In my general opinion, don't bother. You're better off just getting a 12-volt fan and trying to do something with the airflow for the system. Now, obviously, that leads on to 12-volt fan. They work. If you are sweating in your bed and you blow a fan over you, that will really help you keep cool, but it doesn't get the van cooler. So in general, it all looks a bit bleak because the options are either we use the ambient air outside as the night comes to cool the van, and hope we have enough airflow, air transition to get the van down to a temperature which is bearable to sleep. And heaven forbid if you do any nighttime activities because you're just going to be dripping with sweat, and good luck cooling down after that. So then you have the option of you're trying to cool it with the outside air. Secondly, you have direct fan blowing on you. That's your base level, but it's not really a solution. You're not really cooling the van down with a fan, which is just blowing air around your van. If it's hot inside the van, that's not going to solve your problem. So it doesn't leave van life in hot places with many great solutions. However, that's before this thing. Now, this thing is a ZeroBreeze Mark2. It is a portable air conditioning unit. it needs to vent outside the van. This is where the cold air blows in. Now, obviously I haven't installed this in my van, therefore I'm going to be setting up a way to do it. Now, the interesting thing about this product is that it runs on a battery in a normal capacity, and they say this thing will run for hours on a battery. Now that's cool because most air conditioning units are designed to run off mains electric, which means you need to be hooked up, which means you need to be paying for a campsite, and that doesn't suit the majority of people who are building off-grid vans. Off-grid van people want something that can be powered sustainably on solar wherever they are, and maybe this is it. Maybe this is a product that can deliver that. So coming right up, I'm going to test this product. I'm going to hotbox my van, leave it in the sun. It's going to get super warm, everything will get hot. I'm going to close all the vents, and then I'm going to basically run this unit in the evening, see how long it lasts on its battery. This will give us an idea of the power consumption. Because this battery is 35 amp hours, we're going to see what temperature it brings my van down from, and just generally see whether it's good and whether we should install it in the van. I'm just going to run through the basics. This is the air coming in, so you can have an extension pipe so you could run it somewhere else in your van, and this is where your cold air is coming into the van. In the back you have exhaust, inlet, outlet and condensation pipe. Now with any air conditioning, if you have air conditioning in your house or you've installed it somewhere else, then you'll know that you need to have a way for the condensate to run out, because you're cooling air, and then whatever you're running the air through to keep it cooler, then any humidity in the air will condensate into the device, and therefore you need to have a place for that water to go. The good thing is, if your van is very humid and very hot, then having an air conditioning unit will actually help reduce that humidity and let things properly dry out, which actually could be quite good. So sucking in this one, blowing out this one, and this should be the cold air, and it is actually cold air already. Wow, that's really fast. I think it's faster than the air conditioner in my house. It's got a light on the front, but thankfully you can turn that off. So it is a very hot day here in Spain. It's about 35 degrees, or in Fahrenheit, I don't know, 1 million Fahrenheit. And what we're going to do today, we are going to test the ZeroBreeze. What I've done, because I haven't installed it into my van, and really you'd want to have some vent holes going out and a pipe probably going through the floor for condensate, because every time you have an aircon machine there's a condensate, and it could actually collect quite a bit of water. So ideally it just goes out onto the road and it's just pure water, so it's no problem. Now what I've done to test it is I've put it in the front of my van. I've taken off my kind of hatch which accesses the front of the cab, and what I've done is I cut a hole in a piece of cardboard, screwed the cardboard to my wall, sacrificing my van for you guys, and basically gonna stick the vent through. So what will happen is the cold air is gonna come in here and the vent in on the machine will go outside, and so will the condensate. So quite a simple test setup, but on a really hot day I've got a thermometer, we can see the temperature and the humidity, and we're gonna see how well this product performs when the van's really heated up. I'm gonna leave the curtain open facing the sun, I'm gonna leave the cab shut, and I'm gonna open this because we get quite a lot of heat coming in from it. So basically what we're gonna do is I'm going to do a thorough test of the ZeroBreeze Mark2 product. I do have to note that they did send me this for free. So obviously it's a sort of promoted post. However, there's zero conditions for what I say. They're not checking it before I publish it. It's basically an honest, reflective perspective of how good this product is for especially off-grid van people, and how well it works. I have no interest in anyone, because it's quite an expensive product. So if we promoted it and said it's wonderful and everyone should install it, and actually it turned out it wasn't, that would be a terrible disservice to my audience. So that's not going to happen. So it's about 8 PM. The van's been in the hot sun all day. It should be baking in here. So come on in. We're currently on 38 degrees, 38.7. So it's actually like a little sauna in here right now. So unfortunately, I had some calls, so I ended up going to do the calls, and now I'm going to start the experiment. It's a bit later. The van's been left for 2 hours, and it's still 34.5 degrees C. There we are, as you can see. Now I've left the vent closed on purpose so we get a really good test. I'm going to turn it on and then we're going to basically just see how long it takes to cool the van, and then the important part is how long it takes to cool the van down, as in the stuff in the van down, because the thermal capacity is in the furniture and the bed, and when everything starts to cool down in the van, then you end up with a temperature which you can sleep in, and when the aircon machine turns off, you're still cool. So the ZeroBreeze comes with a remote, so I should better just poke it through the hole and turn it on. So the ZeroBreeze at the moment is running on its own battery. So the battery itself is actually quite expensive, but you don't actually have to have it. So what might be the best way for van lifers is you can buy an adapter which will run from your 12-volt battery system and straight into the ZeroBreeze. It's such an oven in here, I just want to stick my face in it. Oh my god. If you were to install this in the van, I'd probably put this going straight over the bed, because that would be heaven when you're hot. Oh my goodness. So as I was saying, so you could get the unit, you could connect it directly to 12 volts, and then you can make your system fit, enabling yourself to run the aircon for X amount of time. It's so warm in here. But it's already dropped. Now it's 33.8, so that's 1 degree. So it is 9:30 right now. So at 10:15 I'll come back in 45 minutes. It is currently 33 degrees in here, and we're gonna see how that changes in 45 minutes. Continue the test. It is now 10:15 and the temperature is 27.4 degrees. So now we're in the realms of, oh man, it's a different van. You could sleep in this temperature without too much trouble, and outside the temperature isn't vastly different. Now the only problem is obviously in the van there's all the stuff which is going to be a bit warmer, which will take a lot longer to cool down than the air itself, but it is much cooler in 45 minutes. Cold air's coming in. When you feel the vent going out, it's just pumping heat out of the van, just taking it from here and putting it outside. Really, really cool. So in 45 minutes I'll do the same. We'll come back, we'll see what the temperature is. Now it's 27.4, it's 10:15. We'll see what it's like at 11 o'clock. So it's 45 minutes later and the temperature now is 24.6 degrees. It's actually now, it feels cool in here. I think it's around 2 degrees cooler.
Cooler! Yeah, Tiger really appreciates the coolness.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's great, really. Yeah, we always needed to keep the doors open before the night, and then have cold showers to not be sweaty in the bed.
Yeah.
But now it feels perfect.
It'd actually be pretty nice, and it's not that noisy.
Yeah, I wanted to say that it feels like probably less noisy than the heating.
Yeah, I think it is quieter than the Propex heater, the gas heater. But I think the main thing is, in an hour and a half of that thing running, it still has battery left, and it's dropped the van temperature by 10 degrees.
I think it's still too hot. I would like it to run longer. Haha.
So another 45 minutes in, and it's still chugging away. That's amazing. I thought the battery might have given up the ghost by now. The temperature in the van is now 22.5. That's amazing. I'm actually really impressed. I honestly thought that by now it would be dead, because it's just running full blast. So it's been going for 3.5 hours. It's kind of annoying. I thought it would be dead by now. But that is actually really impressive. No, it's still going down, so we're at 21.5 now degrees centigrade. And when we really think about it, I guess just wait till it runs out. So it's 2 AM. It's still going. It's 19.8 degrees centigrade in here at the moment. It's been going for 4.5 hours. It's constantly blowing cold air. The van is now like, feels cold. I'm just tired, so I'm gonna go to bed. The machine has outlasted me. Actually quite annoying, but at the same time really, really impressive. I'm actually really surprised. Oh, I'm really tired, but it is 9 AM and the temperature is 18.2, so there wasn't a big latent heat in the van after running that for 4 hours. So in all things considered, considering it was over 35 degrees when it got in the van, I would say that it was a very successful aircon product test. Quite impressive. I need more sleep though. So I think the ZeroBreeze is a pretty impressive product. I'm incredibly pleasantly surprised. I had very low expectations when he came into it, especially when people talk about, you know, like a 5-hour battery life for a unit. But it performed really well. And you've also got 2 modes I didn't mention earlier. One is you can just turn it on to cool, and then you've got night mode, which will kind of come on and off, so it's like an intermittent cooling. I didn't test the night mode because I already tested it on the full-on blasting non-stop, taking the van from 38 degrees down to 19 over a period of, well, I ran it for over 4 hours, and I just had to go to bed. So basically, good stuff. Now the big question is, can you run it on solar? And the answer is almost certainly yes. The only question is, how much solar do you have? How much excess do you have? Now, the reality is, in summer, when it's hot, we usually have an excess of solar. Now, sometimes you're in a very warm, humid place and it's totally overclouded and you don't have it. But in general, in summer, in the hottest weather, you also happen to have the most sun and the longest days, which gives you the most solar gain. In summer, you're usually getting significantly more than double the solar you get in winter. So if your van conversion can survive in winter and still maintain power for all your things, probably in summer you're going to have enough excess to power this or charge the battery. So let's go into some of the details. Now this unit here, this is the lithium ion battery that they provide. It is 35 amp hours. The 35 amp hour battery they provide will run the unit for 5 hours. So that's long enough to take your van from very hot to absolutely lovely to sleep in. And also it's also enough to run it in a lower energy saving mode, which will run it through the entire night. Now the reality is, most people mostly need these things for the nighttime because that's the part you're definitely in the van and you're really uncomfortable. In the daytime, if it's that hot, you're probably not just sitting in your van cooking, you're probably off swimming somewhere or you're at the beach or whatever. So this is a 35 amp hour battery, and obviously many of us have battery banks with significantly more than 35 amp hours. Most people nowadays have 200 plus amp hour batteries and a solar setup which can charge that. So I'm going to do the calculations based on my solar panel, which is 300 watts, based on 6 hours of intense solar gain, like the good part of the day, and 90% efficiency, assuming we have losses in the system for charging and solar charge controller and all the rest of it. So 300 watts times 6 hours, that gives me 1800 watt hours. 1800 times 0.9, so this is the efficiency loss, gives 1600 watt hours. 1600 watt hours divided by 12 volts gives 135 amp hours. Now, that is easy. This is 35 amp hours, and in a good day in summer, I will expect to gain 135 amp hours of charge. Then we definitely have enough excess to run this thing for 5 hours to get the van from hot to cool in the nighttime, even if we only ran it for 4 hours before we went to sleep or while we finished cooking and we're preparing the van and whatever. And remember, when I did my test, I didn't have my fans open, I kept the van hot boxed all day, I didn't do anything to make it easy for this device. When we think about it, if my solar panel, one solar panel, 300 watts will give me about 135 amp hours of charge, we can generally expect to easily live the rest of the time on 100 amp hours of charge in one day, especially in summer when you're not running heaters and you generally have less power requirements because it's like longer days and the rest of it. So overall, yes, what lies inside is a high efficiency aircon unit, which is the right size for a van conversion, because the problem with most aircon units is they're big, they're developed to be run on mains electric, they can cool large rooms with tons of furniture. We live in vans, we don't need to have that, we just need it to cool down a small space. And they've hit the nail on the head. So that's it, that's my review of ZeroBreeze. It went way better than I thought it would. So I'm quite happy to be able to recommend that to people. I have had products sent to me before which I either offered to send back or not to make a video because I thought they were pretty rubbish. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope that is useful. You can find links to ZeroBreeze in the description and in the top comment. Those links will be an affiliate link, so if you buy it, I'll get some money. That'd be great. But I also want to emphasize that they did give me this for free. They did not stipulate I say anything about it. So respect for them for allowing me to do that. That usually suggests that people are confident with their product. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you hadn't noticed, we do sell an ebook for how to convert a van. It has over 190 pages of detailed instructions and diagrams, also 25 video tutorials which are specifically for the ebook buyer. Creating a van for many people is obviously a really intimidating project, but I really believe, and I've seen it time and time and time again, that with the right information, anyone can turn out with a pretty decent van conversion. So check the link in the description, subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and drop us a comment if you like this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.